Okay, so this video talks about maintaining your student visas and status. First of all, I'm sure most of you probably don't really care the differences between the visa and the status. But I want to make sure that you understand the differences between these two because we're mostly going to be talking about the status and not about visas. Okay, the visa is what you get on your passport, and that's basically a ticket to enter a different country, in this case Japan. Whereas status is a paperwork that you get from the university, like the COE, Certificate of Eligibility. This determines the legality of your stay in Japan, and this one is more important once you are in the country. We have 5 topics to cover. As you can see, all of them pertains to status and not visa. The first topic is about change of status. The second one is extending your status. And the third one talks about re-entry upon, Japan during your short return home or going abroad. The fourth topic is about part-time work. And lastly, post-graduation status, like getting a job. What do you do with your status? Okay, I want to get your attention on this little mark on the right top corner of each slide. There's going to be 2 types of information. One is information that is relevant only to degree-seeking students, and the other type is information that's relevant to both exchange and degree-seeking students. So when you see a little mark that only highlights the degree-seeking students, then exchange students can skip that section. However, if you see a marking that highlights both the degree-seeking and exchange students, all of you need to pay attention to it. Okay, first of all, when you come to Japan to study at a university, you must have a good student status in order to apply for tuition or other benefits that are offered through university for international students. If you have, let's say, a family visas or other types of visas, then you're not a student status, and that means you're not eligible to apply for some of these services. Okay, now some students come into Japan with like temporary visitor visas just because they didn't have enough time to get the visas processed. If you're in one of these situations, please go talk to the immigration office in Tachikawa and seek the change of status to student immediately. Now, sometimes, depending on your situation, you might be asked to go home once and then come back to Japan with the proper status. So please go talk to them and get your situation straightened out. If your home is a Kunitachi campus, you're lucky because the immigration office is rather close, only about 30 minutes on foot or 15 minutes by bike. And so, make sure you have an appointment or call them in advance and then go to visit office to get your paperwork processed. Once your status is changed, your change of status needs to be notified to, if you're undergrad students, to the Academic Affairs second section. And if you're a graduate or research student, please report the change at your faculty administration office. Okay, this next section talks about extension of your status. Now, the extension procedure happens in one of 2 ways. One is when you change your school and then you need to basically add another, 2 years or 4 years because you start your new study at the new university. When that happens, you need to go talk to the Tachikawa branch office and get your extension under the new institution that you're enrolled. Now, another type of extension happens because you decide to extend your period of study at Hitotsubashi. Let's say you enrolled in a 2-year program, but it ends up taking 3 or 4 more years. Then you need to apply for an extension. Now, please be aware that extension is not awarded automatically. If you're not making steady progress toward graduation, or if there's a reason to that you're not being a serious student, then the immigration department can deny your extension application. Now, sometimes a student must take a leave of absence due to health conditions or situation back home, and that's perfectly your right to do so. However, from the immigration standpoint, that means your student status will be terminated and you have to leave Japan immediately, and obviously cannot hang around Japan doing part-time work. Now, if this happens, now you go home for a semester and now you're ready to resume your study at Hitotsubashi. This is the procedure. Basically, you're renewing the application process once again, starting with the certificate of eligibility from Hitotsubashi University. You need to ask these respective departments depending on your status. And then, in order to enter Japan, you also must have visa. Okay, this is the only time that I'm going to talk about visa as opposed to status. If your student visa has already expired, then you have to get a new student visa along with the valid new certificate of eligibility to come back to Japan. The next section talks about re-entry procedure, and we just talk about the re-entry of one type. What we're going to be talking about here is a re-entry after a short departure from Japan, like summer break or winter break, and you're coming back to Japan. Now again, we're talking about you leaving Japan temporarily for summer break or winter break. Okay. Now, under normal circumstances, you do not need to obtain re-entry permit as long as your departure period is less than 1 year. However, let's say during your summer break, your status expires. Then what do? Well, you cannot extend status from overseas, and so that means you need to get a new COE and apply as a new student and come back to Japan. Now, when you depart from Japan for a short period of time, there are 3 places that you need to report your travel plan to. 1, your faculty advisors really need to know that. Number 2, these offices, if you're undergrad offices, the educational affairs, if you're grad students, their respective administrative office needs to know. And also, if you live in ISTAC and international houses, residents, do let them know, the office staff know that you're going to be gone for a certain period of time. Okay, the next section talks about working part-time while a student status. Okay, the immigration law basically wants you to study first. And so basically you're not allowed to work. However, on an exceptional basis, you are allowed to work part-time as long as that work doesn't interfere with the academic part of your everyday lives. That means that's defined as 28 hours per week or less during the semester. And during the break, it's 8 hours per day or less. It's obvious that you cannot engage in part-time work without permit. However, if you do have a permit, engaging in these adult entertainment business are strictly prohibited for obvious reason. Now, there are sometimes where you're asked to distribute ad or tissue paper with a little ad of these adult entertainment business. That is also going to get you in trouble. So please be aware of what you are actually promoting. Now, the final section talks about postgraduate status pertaining to getting a job or work visas. All right, degree-seeking students, once you are about to graduate and you decide that you want to stay in Japan to look for a job, well, guess what? You have earned the right to apply your change of status from a student to what's called designated activity. Now, designated activity status allows you to stay for 6 months in Japan for job search activities. And then it's renewable for one more time up to a total of 12 months. So you have 1 year after graduation to seek and find a job in Japan. Okay, when I was an international student, immigration session always put me to sleep, and that was a great sleep inducer. Now I'm on the other end. But anyways, immigration is a very important topic in order for you to stay in Japan legally. If you're not quite sure of what to do, don't try to figure this out by yourselves, or don't rely on friend information because they are usually wrong. So go talk to the advisors, but before even that, you need to go check the website below and then come to talk to us if you still have questions. We'll be able to help you out. Thank you for listening. Have a good time at Hitotsubashi.